All fired up now for the juniors final. 14 and 15-year-olds over 10 laps, racing for $4,650, $1,000 for first place, and 23 there is just one of the enormous field. Richie Hardman, 44 is Paul Grant, and 12 is Cameron McFarlane, and 7 is Peter Lowcock, and 8 is Fonzie Mullen, and 39 Clint Jarvis Thompson, 166 is Gobert, and 52 is Ashkenazi, and 10 is the New Zealander. 5, Joshua Donald, and 3, Jason Webster. Gobert first and second in the two previous races as they jump unevenly. And as you can see, 5 going nowhere, Joshua Donald, totally caught up in the thing. He's bent the starting gate, and that's his fault, no one else's. It falls backwards, and if you're up against it as they go out after Ashkenazi. 23 in second place is Richie Hardman.
Well, Gobert's gone past Ashkenazi in that tight left-hand turn, but Ashkenazi's come back on the hill.
So they are getting serious now.
As Ashkenazi leads coming down into the first set of jumps.
$1,000 for first, $800 for second. Good money for a 14 or a 15-year-old. Anthony Gobert on 166. Got his sights set on the grand. Kim Ashkenazi says, I want it too. And it really will get down to that to some extent. Who wants it most?
Yes, well, they've both been tussling over the last 12 months or whatever, but I think it's going to be close here. Ashkenazi's been winning the majority of the races this year, so it'll be interesting.
Amazing for these young guys to have the factory support that they have from Honda and from Suzuki, to be making as much money and to be concentrating so hard on their sport. And a sport as unusual as this one, because you don't learn it at school.
And most of them still going to school. Gobert's pulling out a little bit of a lead on Ashkenazi, which is pretty unusual, especially earlier in the race.
And 10 back there, Stacey Oldman doing a good job, third place, but suddenly rounded up Paul Grant. So Oldman, the New Zealander who'd won a heat earlier on, then pushed back on the Kawasaki, but coming back at him again and looking admirably determined. Good on you, fighting.
And Paul Grant's doing a good job there. Oldman looked so good in the earlier heat.
One went tight and one went wide, and that was the difference.
That's it, Paul Grant off into the distance.
This is the race leader, Anthony Gobert, 166, Team Honda, Australia. 15 years old, he's had first and a second on the night in the reverse order. He was second in the first of these junior races. He's got 3 laps completed now in a 10-lapper. Keep the concentration up for nearly 10 minutes. Physical effort, and there's a lot of that.
Certainly riding consistently tonight. Pulling out one nice lead.
Big lead now over Kim Ashkenazi, the Suzuki Australia Gus Liu Motorcycles entry. And then 44, Paul Grant, Suzuki Australia Bob Campbell Motorcycle. All of them from New South Wales, dominating this junior supercross final at Calder Park. Gobert, this man, nobody's got an answer to the speed that he can produce on Honda 166.
No doubt about it, Will. These younger guys are looking better every year.
Very hard guys to toss, and they don't do times very far off what the seniors are doing on similar machinery. These, of course, 125s. Second place is Ashkenazi.
The only place where these young guys probably lose any distance towards the, say, 125 A graders would be over the really rough stuff where they don't quite have the strength, or where they're not quite as game and don't jump all the jumps in one go.
Mind you, they usually say of racing car drivers and motorcycle race riders, when they see a young guy going fast as he hasn't had a big accident yet, he doesn't know how much it hurts.
That's it. But the young guys, they've
had their accidents, haven't they?
They've been there, they've done it also.
But they mend quickly, I suppose. That's the other thing. This is Gobert. Coming to complete now 5, and that's half distance. Halfway to the grand. This man's halfway to $800, not 8,000. 4,650. Good money down to, well, I was going to say down to 10th place. That's $50. I don't suppose you'd call that good money. 8th place is 200. 7th is 300. 6th is 400. 5th, 500. And 4th and 5th place.
That's Oldman and Fonzie Mullen.
Oh, and nearly pulls it back on himself. Not quite in a nearly sense, but he was starting to. And behind him, Fonzie Mullen, Yamaha from Victoria. Over the bridge and up to the top. And the race leader, been through there, heading down to complete lap 6.
Doing very well out in front. Fair bit of pressure on these young guys. A big crowd. Probably the best money they've had that I've seen for a long time. I wish they had that sort of money when I was riding in juniors.
Yes, really Gobert in the position here to play it reasonably sensibly. This guy, Fonzie Mullins, just had a bit of unscheduled excitement. Gone places he shouldn't have gone, but is going again, and as you can see, not giving up at all. Track packing down there. It's starting to look even a little bit dusty. Race leader, though, untroubled and pretty well faultless. On lap 7. And very soon, he'll be on lap 8, about now.
Well, the distance seems to be staying pretty much the same between Gobert and Ashkenazi. Neither of them making any exceptional moves on each other.
So 52 in second place, that's Ashkenazi. Third place is 44, is Paul Grant. Fourth place, still 10. We see here, that's Ashkenazi.
He's got a smooth style, this young guy. As I said earlier, he's got a big future. Like, he's had a good upbringing. I think if he sticks with it, he could go places.
And third place, 44, in trouble, Paul Grant. He's come back to 5th place from the 3rd he was holding. This man, though, leading as he's done all the way, sorted them out on the first lap and has led across the finishing line every lap since. He's about to do it at the end of lap 8. So he has 2 remaining, about 1.4 kilometres, averaging about 50 kilometres an hour.
Ashkenazi looks like he's dropped back a little, I think.
Very fluid style, keeps the bike working well. Somehow everything seems to follow well, and 9 down. Jason Rosano was in 6th place when he fell, very quickly, receiving good treatment and reasonably quickly recovering too. Very easy to lock a lot of air out of your stomach in falls on these sorts of things. Getting tangled up with the machine, or if it lands on top of you, or get the fuel tank in the guts.
Well, it's nothing worse. You could be laying there, you're winded, you can't tell anyone about it. All you're doing is gasping for breath.
And look at this one, a beauty! Great battle there between 10.
That's Stacey Oldman and
Oh dear. Dear old
big effort.
Fonzie Mullen.
Oh, well,
so easy to get dragged in that situation.
You must try these things.
Here's Gobert, halfway through his final lap, coming up to the top of the hill, and well on the way to $1,000. In the foreground there, over to the right, Jason Webster. He's pulled up too on the Nana Goon Honda. The area in Victoria. The race leaders from New South Wales, and he rides for Honda Australia. His name's Anthony Gobert, and he's been flawless in this race. A junior with a lot of talent comes across the finishing line to be victorious and to pick up $1,000 Australian dollars, which will be very handy indeed, coming home ahead of the man that he so often races against and is sometimes beaten by, Kim Ashkenazi, the Suzuki Australia entry, number 52.
How was it there in the final?
It was pretty tough with Kim and Stacey also rode just as hard. I was lucky enough to get past Cam early and got a bit of a gap, and once I got the gap, that's where it stayed the whole race.